What's up guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host that's sitting down while recording. I'm gonna try it out right now. Zach, and today's subreddit is r/PettyRevenge. Alright, this story's called Neighbor Complains That My Car Smells to Try to Get a Better Parking Space? Aloha, bimbo. I, 31 female, live in an apartment that, while there is green space around, faces the parking lot. My wife and I have 2 cars and 1 garage spot, so I park my car in the surface lot. I've not been driving my car much, or at all, because I'm working from home, and my family is very strict about staying home right now because we have to go on a trip in April. Still, it is in a spot close to my apartment door because there have been car break-ins and I want to watch it. One of my neighbors complained last weekend to the property manager that my car smelled funny. It doesn't, I confirmed this with an outside party, so I should move it further away from the building. Then she upped the ante yesterday by claiming my car smells like gasoline and I need to move it right now because the smell is getting into her apartment. I've never smelled anything, and I took my car to the mechanic to have it checked. Thanks for the bill, Karen. There are no faults or problems to cause a smell. It is not dangerous. The mechanic didn't know what she was talking about. I concluded that this woman is lying because either she wants the close space for herself, she doesn't like me for some reason, she's on a power trip, and or she's homophobic. I'm moving in June, so commence where I and my wife are petty. We got the car back as quickly as we could and parked it next to the neighbor's car, which had of course taken over the closest spot. My wife plans to also move her car to park in one of the good spots too. Okay, I can't be sitting down, this is too much. Just now, I saw that the petty neighbor and her cars were gone, so I ran out and moved my car to the closest spot. There is no problem with it, and if my neighbor's gonna be petty and I'm about to give notice, I'll play. I literally can see the parking wars and have every opportunity to move my car since I work from home. And guess what, bimbo? Since you made a baseless complaint and cost me at the mechanic and goodwill with the property management, I am leaving my car in the prime spot in a few weeks when I go to Hawaii to deal with estate stuff. For 10 days, possibly more if I have a Brovid scare. Wife is coming too. Cat sitter drives over, so 3 cars taking up all the prime spots you wanted so badly as to get me in trouble for. Never screw with someone who has a flexible work-from-home job. My wife has been referring to this stuff as the Pettymobile conflict. So at my parents' apartment, we have a Harley, okay, and we don't use it that much, okay, but it's kind of like parked right in front of our apartment, which is a really good spot. And we've had people complain about it or whatever. And honestly, I would have moved it, but like it's my dad's or whatever, so like he's keeping it there. But like any chance he would have moved it absolutely went away because the neighbors, they complained to the management instead of coming to us or anything at all. They just went straight to management. And the upstairs neighbors are actual jerks, okay? They make stuff up. They complained about my ceiling fan. My ceiling fan. Like, what? This story's called The Customer Is Always Right. Not at the gun store. Yeehaw! This story comes to me secondhand from both the manager in the story and my friend who happened to be there. One of the managers at my local gun store is a loud, hard-ass ex-Marine who has a short temper. He's exactly the kind of guy you're thinking of. Conservative, brash, forward, conspiratorial, in your face. The kind of guy who if you ask the question, "How was your morning?" he'd respond, "Well, there's a new construction on my street, which made it hard to get to work, probably because the Democrats want to make it impossible for me to sell guns." God damn it, he's onto them. Yeah, that guy. He's loud, political, and annoying, but he is never boring. So the manager is at the gun store and this customer calls up in a rage. This customer is furious because she ordered a gun online and there's some problem between the gun being shipped from the manufacturer to the store. He tried to get the necessary information from her to contact the manufacturer, but in her rage, she refuses to give it to him. Finally, after half an hour of going back and forth, she relents and gives the information he needs. He gets a hold of the manufacturer and the gun is shipped in. As you can imagine, when she came to pick up the gun, she wasn't any nicer. In return, the manager wasn't nice back. Gun store employees generally aren't nice in the first place. In America, when you want to buy a gun from the store, you have to fill out a long government form called a 4473 with lots of questions to answer and dates to mark and signatures to make, etc. Usually when you fill one out, store employees will usually guide you through each question to make sure everything is filled in appropriately. Instead, the manager watched her fill out the form going, "That's wrong. You missed that. You didn't do that right," just to make her even more mad. After pissing her off even more, she finishes the form. When it comes time to pay, she walks up to the front counter, but instead of her paying, her husband takes out his credit card. That is a problem. You see, in filling out that 4473, you put yourself as the owner of the gun. However, if her husband was paying, and it could be construed that he would be the actual owner of the gun, which would be illegal since he wasn't the one that filled out the form. Sometimes gun store employees won't care about this if it's the same party. They were married after all, but the manager decided to be a jerk about it. He told her that her husband could not pay because that would be a straw purchase. She throws a fit, but after getting nothing out of the manager, she relents and pulls out her own credit card. Just as she's about to make the purchase, the manager asks the couple, "If he was gonna buy it, why isn't he the one filling out the form and taking ownership of the gun?" "Oh, I'm a felon," the husband said. Yep, that's right. The husband who tried to pay for the gun had been convicted of a felony in the past. As you might have guessed, felons cannot buy guns. The manager lights up and says that because it's pretty obvious that the husband, a convicted felon, is going to be the recipient of the gun and that this was a straw purchase. So the manager goes to cancel the sale. The husband says, "Oh, it was just a minor thing. I was only in for 3 years." The manager said it didn't matter. A felony is a felony, and he could not buy the gun. The wife goes ballistic, but there's nothing she could do. They ended up leaving the store empty-handed, and the gun had to be sent back to the manufacturer. Don't be a jerk if you don't have to. Okay, well, it sucks to be a dummy, don't it? This one's called "Old Lady Jim Demands Front Half of the Parking Lot and Demonstrates Great Hypocrisy. I Get My Revenge in My Own Small Way." I work in a small office, and next door in the same building we have a Curves gym. At first everything was fine until they decided, "Hey, we're gonna claim these parking spots for ourselves," and stuck signs in front of the spaces closest to the entrance. We were like, okay, our company owns the building, but y'all are old, so fine. Wish we could have gotten a heads up though. Flash forward a few months and these old bats are parking in our spots in the back of the lot when they have perfectly open spots in the front. Strike number 1. Maybe this means they no longer care if we park up front. Yeah, no. A few days ago, one of my favorite coworkers noticed a small note taped to the windshield of her car saying, "You cannot park here. Please move. Curves Management." Oddly enough, she had been parking there the last few months with no issue before, so that was strike number 2. Strike number 3. I leave for lunch and come back to find one of those old bats' cars in my spot when their front is wide open. I really cannot think of a better example of hypocrisy than this right now. My manager has mentioned it before, but she doesn't want to full-on confront them because she says it would look bad on the company's owners. So what do? The revenge. You see, us and Curves share a break room and 2 bathrooms, and about a year ago, they started claiming that one of the bathrooms is for women's use only. It was a 1-stall bathroom. Literally nobody cared about this until they decided to, and I'm pretty sure that was just their way of claiming it as their own. Well, every time I go to the back room, I make sure to turn on their bathroom's light and shut the door completely to simulate someone being in there. Not sure about y'all, but I myself am not comfortable knocking on bathroom doors if I think another person is in there. I can't do much in terms of revenge right now because my manager wants to wait to bring it up to the owners on their next visit, but I can do this much at least. I hope I inconvenience, annoy, bother the crap out of you old bats. Okay, inconvenience, annoy, and bother, yeah, but doing it so much to the point where they poop themselves, that's a dangerous game you're playing, buddy. And also, these people don't seem to care much about being confrontational little poo brains. So, I'm not sure how effective this revenge is, but I appreciate the spirit. But yes, don't make them defecate themselves because they're already trying to go into the bathroom. And, you know, they sell adult diapers for a reason. Alright, this story's called Mean Lady Claimed Single Parent with Kids Was Not a Family. Ooh. Several years ago, I, a single mom, took my kids on an Alaskan cruise and decided to splurge on a helicopter ride for one of the excursions. This was a truly special event for us as we didn't do things like that ever, and the kids were 12 and 14, so perfect age for something exciting like that. We get to the counter to check in and everything is fine. We get the safety training and we are set to go. Then we're approached by the staff apologizing that they need to split the three of us in two groups, as a family is traveling together, with kids older than mine, so they need to stay together. I hear the mom in the family loudly saying, "Well, we are a family, so you can't split us." I say to the staff, "But we are a family as well." She literally turns to me and said, "Not really, I have a husband too, so we can't be split up." This is now becoming a scene, and I'm upset but also don't want to upset the kids, so I said, "Okay, what can I do?" As there were just 2 helicopter rides left for the day, so either we split up or we don't go. My older one goes first, and they seat him in front next to the pilot, so he's super happy about that. We go next, and they also seat us next to the pilot, so we love that. The mean lady is now on my helicopter, and she is saying to her husband, "Don't worry, we will go up front on the way back." So we land on the glacier, walk around, and then get ready to get back on the helicopters. The pilots look at her and say, no, we have to load it the exact same way, so no, you can't be in front. There's no way we can do that, sorry." She starts going on and on about how she couldn't see as well from the back, etc., and well, too bad, because they simply refused. And we got to enjoy being in the front again. And come to think of it, we all wouldn't have been in front as there was only space for 2 max next to the pilot, so I guess she did me a favor. Mean lady, thank you. How old is that woman, like 8? How did an 8-year-old have kids? Don't answer that. Alright, this story's called You Can Butt in Line, but It's Not Gonna Do You Any Good. My husband and I were visiting Amiens a couple of years ago, and we wanted to take a boat ride through the canals of the famous floating gardens. When we arrived at the ticket counter, there were a few people already in line, so my husband lined up behind them. The boat tickets were numbered, and as she sold enough tickets to fill a boat, the counter lady would announce the numbers that were to be seated next on the public address system down by the water. While we were waiting to be served, an older couple came in and stood beside my husband. When it was our turn, my husband stepped up to the counter and asked for 2 tickets. Pushing my husband aside, the older man who had come in after us stepped up to the counter and told the woman that he wanted 2 tickets. My husband protested that he had been there first and that he should wait his turn. The man ignored my husband and very loudly and aggressively demanded the tickets. My husband told him that he was rude and again that he should wait his turn. Turning his back to my husband, the man gave the woman his money. The lady at the counter shrugged and, with an apologetic look to us, served the rude man. The man took the tickets and, with a triumphant look at us, he and his wife made their way down to the boats. The woman at the counter apologized for the man's rudeness, sold us our tickets, and asked us to wait for our number to be called down by the canal. We weren't happy, but what are you gonna do? We thanked her, and as we waited for our boat, we saw the rude man and his wife sitting on the bench, also waiting for their ticket to be called. The ticket numbers of the people who had been in front of of us were called, and we watched as they entered the boat. Then our numbers were called. We were confused because it should have been the turn of the rude man and his wife, but we double-checked and they were our numbers, so we got on the boat. The lady who sold us the tickets had skipped the ticket numbers of rude man and his wife to let us get on first. Then we watched as boat after boat was filled with kids on a school trip who had come after us, while the rude man and his wife were left still waiting for their numbers to be called. And they were still waiting as our boat pulled away and we began our tour of the floating gardens. Thanks for the PettyRevenge, nice ticket lady. What a badass, man. I was like, damn, that sucks. How could the lady let them go first? But she came through in the end. This story's called, So This Lady Cuts Me Off at Chick-fil-A Only to Get Petty Revenge. So, I'm at a Chick-fil-A waiting in line. There's a Charger in front of us and a Civic behind us. The line splits into two people so people can order. I go into the far lane and the Charger and the Civic go into the inner lane. I order my meal and they order theirs. All around, things were pretty chill. So when the line merges back, this lady in the Civic rides the Charger's tail, not letting me in. I think maybe she's confused, so I signal to her that I go first. She is still slightly confused, so we roll our windows down. I say the line goes one after the other. She said her cashier said to go behind the Charger. My dad is wondering how that made sense because we would be here all day. This upsets her, so she rolls up her window to avoid the conversation, which is kinda rude. I was still kinda confused, and my dad is getting upset. I knew she lied when the food deliverer went up to her car window and acts confused. I don't know how he knew, but this guy goes past two cars to give us our meal, like I'm royalty. I drive around her since I got my meal before she did, and from what my dad said, she had the meanest look when I went around her. I'm like, you get what you deserve. Thumbs up to the Chick-fil-A employee because that was funny. I agree, that was pretty funny. I wasn't there, but from your description of the events, I'd say quite humorous. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.